SoulFulMe.com, the hottest online radio station in the world. GS Radio all day, all night, worldwide. Powered by Gyroscope Media Group, LLC.
GS Radio, the best internet radio station worldwide. Providing the best in music and talk shows. Go to www.gsradionj.com and check out the best internet station in the world. You're listening to GS Radio, internet radio station powered by GMG LLC.
Get ready. Ladies and gentlemen, DJ Dan, Soulful House Station coming to you live from the 8th floor. Woo! Wow. Got a great show lined up for you. A great show. Hey, listen, here's what we're going to do. Last week, as you know, we had Lenny Green from WBLS on the show. He gave some interesting perspectives on what we're doing, talked about what he was doing, but talked about the house music thing. In addition to that, many people don't even know that he's into house music. Then we're gonna, after we do that, then we're gonna do kind of play the hottest song according to Track Source. Gonna play just a snippet of it, and because Facebook is a nasty little habit of shutting us down and muting us out. Then after that, we're gonna play the song of the week, and then from there, we're gonna do some updates. Then the song of the week, we'll play the old school track. We're going to play that news track. You know what? I'm just having an interesting day today. I don't even want to tell you about it. But right now, what we're going to do here, we're going to play. After this, we're going to do. Okay, let's do this again. Quick recap. Go back and check out Lenny Green. Then we're going to play the hottest song according to the Track Source. After that, we're going to talk about what's coming. Then we're going to play another track. And after that, we're going to go into the interview with Ed Ramsey. And then we're going to follow that up with the Shazam Free Zone where we play all new music. All right, ladies and gentlemen, DJ Dan, Soulful House Nation, coming to you live from the 8th floor. Hey, Chuck, play the song, the snippet. But as usual, we only play a little snippet because Facebook is nasty little habit of shutting us down and muting us out. This is called Hello Love by Tayo Wink did the track and Ed Ramsey did the vocals. So, are you ready, Chad? Okay. Oh, shucks. I tell you I screwed up. Actually, I should have played the number one song. Chad, I'm having a day today. You know? Like, sometimes you mean to go left and you end up right. You mean to go right, you go to left. You mean to go up, you go down. Oh, man. Okay, so no, let's play the number one song is Zoops, Tasha LaRae, and it's called Wishing on a Star. Okay, let's do that. Let's do it that way. And then we'll come back. Okay. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. DJ Dan, Soulful House Nation, coming to you live from the 8th floor. Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I had a great weekend this weekend. And first of all, for all of those that I did not get to wish Happy Mother's Day directly, and yesterday, I just want to take a moment to wish that to you now. Hey, this weekend, Friday, I went to the SMB Pink and White at Mr. East. Naeem was there. When I got there, I don't even have to tell you, he ripped it. I mean, everybody was like, forget about it. But also, too, the event was really a celebration. It could have been very sad because we lost Alice at such a very, very early age and early time in her life. But we were able to get in there and we, as I say, party with a purpose. And it really was a celebration. Everybody had a good time. We connected, reconnected. A lot of people were there. Just want to tip my hat off to Sultan and the team there for putting on this event. Also was at Mr. East, so Antoine Quais, you know, was involved, and he played. And it just was a good thing. So shout out to and congratulations to SMB, who was somewhere maybe in the Atlantic on the cruise. Okay, May 19th, AB Salute, after work party, Hotel and Raw Way, and that's going to be happening. Then on the 20th, the House of Salima Designs and Tyrone Chablis, and it's the event given by Hope, Michelle Royster, and Naeem. So you already know. Listen, you know the way they do things. If I said it once, I'll say it again. So I'm Sears clean, but they're Gucci clean. And that's how it is. It's going to be a high-class event at the Doubletree Hotel in Newark on Frontage Road. All the who's who are going to be there. In addition to that, great fashion show, great dinner, swag bags, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, that's how they roll. So that's happening on the 20th. On July 8th, there is Warrenenko Park. That's the 8th annual Roselle House Music Festival. And the lineup is to be announced. It's going to be on July 8th. And again, you know that's going to be big. Then I want to make an announcement too. Tawanda Gray is now doing a weekly show, House Call. And it's on radio. And it runs on Mondays and Wednesdays. So this week they have Anaya Weathers, and they're going to have a lot of other special guests there. And hey, just want to give a big shout out to them because what it does, it's one more cog in the wheel. It's one more step forward in the house music community. So congratulations to Wanda for making this happen. All right. Hey, let's do this. Let's play. Now let's go to Ed Ramsey, Tyo Wink, and the track is called Hello Love. So, as usual, we're going to play a little snippet, because of this nasty little habit of shutting us down and muting us out. Here we go. Get ready. DJ Dan, Soulful House Nation, coming to you live from the 8th floor. Hey, listen, we got some more stuff lined up. Also want to give a big shout out to King T Finesse and Ariel Shante for putting our track together, our theme song. Also, too, we're going to have a great interview. After this, we're going to go into Shazam Free Zone. We have all new music. You're going to love it. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, DJ Dan, Soulful House Nation, coming to you live from the 8th floor. Hey, Chuck, let's start the interview.
We're gonna start. Get ready, get ready, get ready. Ladies and gentlemen, I am DJ Dan, Soulful House Nation. I'm going to you live from the 8th floor. Woo! We got another one, ladies and gentlemen. We got another one. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited to introduce this next man to you. I first heard his singing and I was like, who is that? Who is that? Because I was like, wait a minute, this is nice. And then I saw your connection with some of the people that I know in the business, like David and and these guys like that. And I said, okay, now, all right. Because these guys have been making it happen for years.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you connected and I heard that, I was super excited. So let's start off with the easy stuff. Just tell us a little bit about you.
Well, first of all, Dan, thank you so much for having me on and having the opportunity to speak with you and just kind of share my love for this music. And so Ed Ramsey, I reside here in Baltimore, Maryland. Grew up here. I've been here most of my life. Actually, was born and raised in New York. Moved here to finish high school, went off to college, and came back here after spending some time in Oklahoma in college. So Ed Ramsey, family man. I've got 2 sons, wife. I've been married it'll be 29 years this year. And that's my wife, she's my muse. So most of the songs that I write about, it tells somewhat of a tapestry of our story, whether it be past or present and even future, So in my daytime, in my day life, professional life, I'm a consultant, analytics, data, and technology, and in the evening times or when the times require, I'm doing music.
Okay.
But other than that, man, I grew up in a family of a big family. Family that was very much into music, and a family of singers and musicians, and a lot of that influence comes from growing up in a big family in church.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So a lot of what I do, a lot of my influence, a lot of the energy that you may feel, and the passion that you may feel, really is an extension of the environment that I grew up in which my parents really invested a lot of time and energy into us, learning about the arts, and of course I played sports and all that, but my parents really wanted us to know about the arts and music and the different expressions of the arts. So so that's just a little about me. I'm 54 years old, so there's 54 years of history. I'm sure everyone doesn't want to hear, but there's an abbreviated notion there.
No problem. Well, listen, you know what? On the light, maybe not shifting now. Anyway, maybe you could put the light in front of you or something, because it seems like it's shifting. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Even a little bit more, because now we see one side of your face.
Oh, okay. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit better. Any way to move the light, like right in front of you or anything like that? Or
how's that?
Yeah. Better. All right. Now, how about this? How did you get into music, and who were some of your early early music influences?
Yeah. So, like I said, kind of in the intro, I got into music really because of my family. Um, my mom was a gospel artist,
Okay.
and she used to travel. Her group used to travel, um, and so her group traveled with groups like Shirley Caesar and
Oh, sure.
Aretha Franklin, those types of groups. Back in the day, when gospel, you had those traveling groups before many of them went into what we call soul music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I got into music. My family, all my sisters, so I have four older sisters. All my sisters had a group. They would sing.
Mm.
My mother's, my aunts, my great aunts, even my dad, although he wouldn't call himself a singer,
Okay.
um, we would have, family time and we'd sit around and sing a lot. So a lot of my influence, a lot of me getting started in the music, really, again, it really began with the environment I grew up in. Just a lot of music. My parents introduced me to a lot of music,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be jazz, R&B, gospel, soul. Um, and my father used to listen to Joan Baez and
Mm.
Peter, Paul, and Mary,
Okay.
and
Well,
Chicago, and John Cougar Mellencamp. He was in the
mm.
military, so he acquired some different musical taste, even though he grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. So,
Okay.
but yeah. So I would say just the exposure to all those genres really were kind of the underpinnings for me getting into and having a love for music. You know.
Right. Now, how about this? And I think this is a fair question. And I only say this because at an early age, even if I didn't know it, family and friends helped me determine that singing wasn't for me. So my question is, when did you know that you could sing, and what did you sing in the early days? Because we're really probably talking pre-house, you were saying before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I got a funny story about house. But yeah. Actually, I knew that I could sing pretty early on, but
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of suppressed it, because
Mm-hmm.
growing up, so I went to elementary school in Queens, and I lived in Bayside, Queens. I went to elementary school in Whitestone,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I would be in the school plays, and I'd be singing, and because I was just having fun,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really know that people were actually evaluating me and saying, "Wow, he's a good singer. I mean, he should, really think about doing more of this."
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, I got more into sports then. So
Mm-hmm.
I would always, I could always, hum a tune and sing a tune. But it wasn't until college that I actually joined a group, and that I really got into it, deeply, and said, "Hey, I might want to do something with this, um, down the road." So yeah.
So now, what kind of music did you sing back in the day? I'm going to suggest that this is pre-house.
Yeah. So pre-house. Um, so coming up when I was younger, man, I was R&B,
Mm-hmm.
was of course, R&B, soul, um, uh, were big, of course, at that time. Gospel, of course, more contemporary, the contemporary style gospel. Of course, I knew some hymns, but I grew up more in the contemporary age, where you think about uh, groups like the Winans, Commission,
Sure.
um, Dawkins and Dawkins, those kind of groups, growing up. Um, that's what I really listened to. Of course, I listen to my parents' music, so they listen to Andre Crouch and going even further back, Mahalia Jackson and the Hawkins family and all of that, right? But I was more on the contemporary side coming up, listening to, I listened to some choirs and stuff too, and of course, getting a little older, Hezekiah Walker and those types of groups, right? Marvin Sapp, Fred Hammond. So yeah, I listened to that. Emulated a lot of my style coming up doing gospel, after those types of singers. So, but yeah, R&B, huge influences. You think about Freddie Jackson, Luther Vandross, but some of the soul singers were really my big influences. You think about Sam Cooke, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Donny Hathaway. They bridge back a little further than, of course, Freddie and Luther and those guys. So, yeah. I mean, I used to listen to a lot of the balladeers coming up. I mean, just their presentation, their style, the range. So think about Peabo Bryson and his range, right? And so those were some of the influences for me, pre-house, right? I can't forget, another huge, loved his voice, D-Train, right?
Okay, James, wait, okay.
Oh man, yeah. And then, as I said, my dad listened to a lot of jazz, so some of the even some of the jazz vocalists were things that I would listen to, and I would, I like his voice, man. And of course, coming up, listening to Will Downing and some of the jazz singers. So yeah, Dan, that, as you can hear, I even listened to let's say Phil Collins and Kenny Loggins and oh man, you name it. I even listened to some contemporary rock back then. Because to me, if the vocals, if it touched me, if it hit me, it's like, oh, okay, that's good. That's good music. That's good singing. That's good delivery. That's a good connection, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that was pre-house. Yeah.
You did mention gospel. You mentioned rock. Let me ask you a question from your perspective. This just popped into my head. Why do you think that the church and gospel music is such, I'm going to say, a hotbed for growth for people who eventually do R&B and house? And I mean, what's going on there in your, from your perspective? That just popped into my head. Ask that question.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. I think in the church environment and in the church community, you see real musicians growing and developing their craft. You see artists, who get a chance to deliver something passionately to an audience in terms of vocally, develop how they deliver that, develop their approach. So I would say that being in church and joining a choir and actually being trained as a vocalist, if you will, getting opportunities to sing, getting opportunities to play different instruments, you get an opportunity to really develop in that environment, right? And you get exposure to other artists, you get exposure to other musicians, and you get an opportunity to get exposure to training, right? Okay. And so when you hear about and see many of the great artists of the past, like the Aretha Franklins and Sam Cookes and the Marvin Gayes, and of course, you think about some of the other great, Shaka Khan and some of the other who their parents and relatives are like pastors and bishops and stuff like that in the church.
Right,
They're being groomed and trained in that environment. And so when they, Whitney Houston, even, right? You think about Whitney Houston.
Absolutely.
And you think about, when they convert to more popular music, they're ready vocally. They're ready in terms of their ability to deliver vocally. Now, of course, you have to be productized, if you will, to reach a bigger audience now, right? So those labels, and the labels, do a lot of that artist development and grooming to put them forward as a mainstream artist. But yeah, in the church, I mean, you're getting that exposure, you're getting those opportunities, you're being groomed. You have a lot of your peers who may be into music and singing. I mean, you just get all that, and you get immersed in that, and you get an opportunity to really grow. So yeah, Dan, it's a lot of great musicians and great artists, writers even. You don't know. I mean, you think about even R&B and some of the popular music out there, some of that's being written by gospel artists.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
They're ghostwriting. You don't see their names, but Ty Tribbett is one. I'll give you an example. He ghostwrites and does a lot of writing for artists, in popular music.
Wow. Very, very interesting. Because, now that you've explained it, I guess you do really have a chance to try it out. You have somebody to say, no, lean to the left instead of lean to the right. You have somebody to say, hey, listen, hey, bring it up a little bit or what. So wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because
you think about some of the artists you hear out. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got excited a minute. I got excited.
No, you're on point. I'm like, think about like someone like a Jasmine Sullivan who's out right now. Tremendous vocalist. She doesn't just sing a song, she presents that song, right? You can feel the movement, you can feel how it builds to this crescendo, if you will, right? Same thing with a Jennifer Holiday, or you just think about some of these artists that are out. A lot of that influence comes from their exposure and the singing in the church. Yeah.
Right. Now, how did you get into house music? What happened?
So, as I mentioned earlier, my parents introduced me to a lot of different genres, a lot of music, but I actually discovered house music.
Okay.
I was 14 years old. And I would listen to, this is when I lived in Queens. I lived in Bayside, Queens. I would listen to, Kiss FM back in the day. I would listen to 92 KTU and WBLS. And then late at night, you'd hear Tony Humphries. Right? You'd hear DJ Red Alert.
Yeah.
Right? You hear some of these guys on these big, FM stations late at night. And when I heard house music, I think the first song that I heard was it JM Silk? I'm trying to remember. Was it a JM Silk too? Or was it that track Zanzibar? Zanzibar. It may have been, but when I first experienced it, it felt, what's the word? It had this tribal kind of, feeling and experience, and I was like, man, and I just started moving, and I didn't even realize. I was like, and I was like, whoa, I really like this. Yeah. And so I started listening more and making, back in the day, we used to make the tapes, right? Record the shows. And then as I, went on to high school and college, I took the music with me and was, people was like, what are you listening to? Like, oh, that's not. So yeah, I found house music, man. I connected with it in a way that it was spiritual to a certain extent. and man, it lived with me. So, you know, uh, uh, even Colonel Abrams, in which people call that more like club music, right? I thought that was more like, you know, I'm trapped like a fool. I can't escape. I can't get out. You know, I'm listening. I'm like, whoa. And then I actually saw him perform. I went to Virginia State University for a semester, and he performed at our homecoming. And you know, Colonel was, you know, he was all like this, had the high top, the high, you know, the high and tight, the high top flit, you know, and woo woo woo, you know, yeah, Colonel was the man. That was Colonel Abrams, man, and J.M. Silk, man, I listened to a lot of them, man, back in the day. Hungry for your love, hungry.
Okay.
You know, stuff like that. Oh man, loved it, man. And those are my influences, man. And I actually started recording house music back in the early '90s with DJ Pope and DJ OG, as they were starting to formulate what we know now today to be Poji music. So that was so I did, man, me and DJ Pope, we did a few tracks. We got them placed with a few labels like Cutting Records back in the 90s. Yeah. We so yeah. Dan, back in the what was that, man? The early 80s is when I got introduced to house. And then it just stuck with me, man, from there.
Well, yeah, I remember Cutting Records. Matter of fact, records. Yeah,
exactly.
big CDs. Anyway,
yeah.
They had, because I remember very clearly their label was green with black streaks in it and all that.
Yep. Oh, wow. I still have the wax down in the basement, man. Of the four records that I got placed between 95 and 2000. Yeah. Yeah. So Poji, you know, so OG and Pope, man, they really gave me an opportunity to do some work, you know, as I was really still exploring at that time, you know, my voice and what I wanted to say, and even as a writer, what did I wanted to write about, you know? So yeah. House music, man. It's lived with me now for over 40 years, man.
Well, I need to tell you, let's say, you're not going to believe this, but I go back to that time too. I know you think I'm a lot younger than that, right? But you know, it's funny when the house music. Well, first of all, I used to be embarrassed to say it, but I'm not embarrassed anymore. When I first heard the term house music, I thought it was music that you played in the house. That's right. I didn't get the concept,
because we used to have house parties. You know,
yes, exactly.
Because we was in the house.
Right. And this difference about it compared to the stuff that you would hear say every day on the radio. There's this whole system, and then still to this day, there's this whole how can I say this whole well, I guess they call it underground, this whole circuit, so to speak. You know, back in the day, they had this thing called a Chitlin circuit. All right.
Yeah. Yep.
But there's this and that music, like you would know that music. Let's say you had the stuff you heard on the radio, but you know, especially, you know, you were from the South, you would know about that Chitlin circuit music too.
Right.
And house music was like that music that was played. I won't say Chitlin circuit, but it was the other music compared to what you would hear on the radio, like the soul, R&B. And there was this whole other thing that was going on. And so I can really, really relate to you. Although, again, I'm going to tell you, it was research. It wasn't that I was actually there at that time, you know. Anyway. Well, what about this? All right. So you really have been in it and known of it from the door. and now you're participating in it. So from your perspective, where is house music headed?
That's a great question. It really is. It's a great question. Because I think there are a lot of influences that you have to consider when you think about music in general. There's the business side of it, and then there's the creative side of it, right?
Okay.
You also see the influence of technology in music. You're hearing about even the emergence of artificial intelligence,
Right.
and how labels, producers even may not even need a physical person to sing anymore.
Right.
You
Now
know,
they
or to actually, to play or whatever. So I think there are a lot of influences you have to consider in terms of, the business, the technology, the artist, and so your question, where do I see house music going? Well, let's talk about where it is today, right?
Okay.
Because to your point, there is still an underground component, right, to house music, but there are a lot of different genres of house music, right? When you think about the stratification of it, I mean, you got they talk about EDM or electronic dance music, and house music being a component of that, right? But I've been told I'm a soulful house artist. But I also have done house, Afro house. I've also done recently. It hasn't come out yet. Some Latin house. I've done some traditional disco and disco related house. So to speak about and talk about, okay, so where is it today? And then of course we've seen even recently artists like Beyonce and Drake and other artists. I won't say what some of the mass media is saying about house being revitalized, but we've seen them do and perform and present house music, right? And you've seen that over the years with house music being performed by some of the mainstream artists and it being widely received. So I think a few things happening. You've got the stratification of the of house music. You've got mainstream artists, doing house music. You've got house music and the influence of house music in, let's say, like South Africa and that South African movement, right? So you're seeing more cultural influence of house. I think all these things will continue to propel house music as a global force in the future, right? I think with the technology, I think with the platforms, I think with the influence of house going even more, because it's global already, but it's having even a greater global influence. You just think about Black Coffee, who won Album of the Year, right? As a Grammy. That's huge.
Yes.
And so so I think, to your point again, and to your question, I think it's going to continue to be more of a force. I think you're going to see more of its influence globally and more of its presence globally. I actually think house music, you're going to see more of a return to the musicianship of house music.
Okay.
I think because you're hearing some of that now, and you're hearing some of the artists, bring in live instrumentation into their performances, and even into some of the tracks that we're hearing out now. But I think I think live instrumentation and the musicianship associated with house music, you're going to see more and more and more of that become prevalent. At least that's where I'm seeing it. I have my view. Others have their view as well, right? But I think the technology is going to continue to advance, and I think that's going to continue to push the limits of the music, just like it's doing the other genres. I don't think house music is immune
Right.
to the effects of technology. But then you think about the distribution of house music and the influence of streaming. I think you're hearing more people talk about we need to do something to really give the artists more more compensation relative to streaming, because right now, even if you're a major artist, 1 million streams is nothing.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So I think so let me step back and answer your question, and I'll answer it in 3 parts. I think the technology is going to continue to push the music. I think live instrumentation and the musicianship of it's going to continue to push it. I think the when you think about Afro tech and Afro house and the rise of what we're seeing happening, in South Africa, I think that's going to continue to push the context and the texture of the music, and so that's 3. And then from the performance side of it, one of the things that I want to do more is I want to bring live instrumentation. I want to bring a different presentation. I want to do more to level up the presentation of house music when it's when I perform live. So that's those are my thoughts, Dan. Wow. Where do you see house music? Where do you see it going?
Well, the first thing I would say to you, now a lot of people are objecting to AI, for example, but I say with AI, now I got a chance to sing. Anyway. I don't have to be limited to my shower. How about that? Anyway.
Yeah. Hey, but I don't know. Maybe it exists, but I don't know if I've heard too many songs in house music where people are using auto tunes. Yeah. So I don't know if the house music community is widely accepting of auto tunes, but maybe in one of the different genres, maybe more the techno genre, auto tunes is but yeah.
I have a couple more thoughts, and I really kind of like really, if you think about it, all the different, whether you're talking techno, EDM, jungle, Afro, gospel,
deep house.
That all started with that original. Well, they call it soulful because they had to. In my mind, they had to figure out a way so you could identify it.
Yeah,
but it all started from that original sound, that original 4/4 sound. And if you listen to these different things, they might put different twists on it. But here, so I see it growing. And I see, like you talking about stratifying and it's kind of like going in different directions and segmenting and things of that nature. I think that's going to continue to push forward, and not necessarily evenly, maybe unevenly, but it's still going to end pushing it forward. So, for example, when I say maybe unevenly, if I'm going to go on a limb and make that a word here, okay, if you look at EDM is, I'm going to say a descendant of the original sound. And technically house music for the most part is electronic anyway, but they were able to take that name and market it. Now watch this. Now look at this. If you look, we get hundreds, maybe thousands in some some venues to come out and support soulful. But if you look at one of its descendants, like EDM, they get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands to come out.
Yeah.
So that, in my mind, that pushes. But here's what I'm finding too. If you're talking about the older cats that are doing the EDM, they know where it came from. So for example, I saw a laid back Luke. I met him in person at a DJ convention. And in his conversation, and he was talking, he even did a video, I'm going to say maybe 2 years ago about Black History Month, how he went back and he said, here's where the stuff came from.
Right.
So I see I see whether it's like, okay, let me say it this way. So let's say you have the Jones family, all right? So in the Jones family, there were, I don't know, 6 brothers, 5 sisters. Now, one of them breaks out and really, really takes off.
Right.
But we're still part of the Jones family. If you follow
Exactly.
me.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so I see that happening. Okay.
Family tree of house, right?
Exactly. Exactly. The next thing I see, and I'm really, really, really in my soul trying to push this. I mean, I would love to be riding down the street one day in the daytime, and not just 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would love to hear a house song play like it's pop. Okay, now,
Right.
and then here's the last part I want to add to it. I think the way we take this forward is at some point we have to recognize and we have to say, hey, wait a minute. There's this whole group of people that listen and love house, but it's a demographic and there's an ecosystem there. Now think about this. I did this informal survey a couple years back. I found that the average person was in this area and was in their 50s, and the average person had an income of in the 50s. Now, if you put together households, let's say you have partners, spouses, whatever, now you got 6-figure income houses. Now, think about this for a second. Let me go back to the ecosystem. So when you see these events, most of the people drove there, all right? There's no car companies. At some point, we got to say, hey, wait a minute, you're benefiting from us, okay? Many people, or most of them, have loans and leases for those cars. There's no auto loan companies, no auto leasing companies there. Okay, if you got a car, whether it's paid for or not, you got to have insurance. There's no auto insurance companies there. Why aren't they there? We're spending money. Hey, wait a minute. We all have cell phones. We're all the cell phone companies. Hey, wait a minute. Let's be honest. The 50+ crowd, of course, got the letter. I'm talking about AARP. Where are they? They should be there. Right. Okay, think about that. Right. Hey, listen, when you're starting in your 50s, most people start to get into some health things, whether it's diabetes, high blood pressure, heart condition, cancer. Look, where are these organizations, the health organizations? So I'm just saying that at some point, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that, is at some point they're gonna recognize, or someone's gonna help them recognize that, hey, wait a minute, here's a viable audience, and this audience we need to address, which is gonna put some money into it. Once we get the money into it, then I think we're gonna be able to get some of the things done. So just anyway, just a little out there thinking, but I've been preaching this and saying this for a long time, and I had some conversations with a young lady today that gave me some real insight on how to make this thing. Because ultimately, again, I would love to take this thing to the public because most people don't really know about it. So those are my thoughts on house music, and I think it's going somewhere. I think that as we continue to do it, I think we will find ways to get it out there. It's going to show, right? Hey, it already reached the Beyonce. Now people can go back and forth. Oh, she didn't. And I'm like, listen, she can sing what she wants to sing.
Oh, yeah.
What if you're a house music guy and you decide to want to do a rock and roll song? What do you mean you can't do a rock and roll song? I do what I want to do. So you're going to see that. So you see Drake. You saw R. Kelly did something. Jennifer Hudson did something.
Oh, yeah.
Mary J. Blige. And then plus all the remixes of some of their songs. So I think we just got to stay at it. But at some point, even if they don't want to play it on the radio, which we've never really went hard at the radio, then I think we got to look at our ecosystem and say, hey, wait a minute, who's benefiting from us? And we need to have a conversation. Hey, look, we have banking accounts, so why aren't the banks there? Checking and savings account. Hey, listen, you're in your 50s, you got to be thinking about personal finance and retirement. Where are these people? So anyway, that's me thinking, and just anyway.
Yeah, no, we definitely have to think about different ways to monetize the genre. lift the culture up, and make it sustainable, right?
Right.
Which means that it, we need to figure out ways to influence younger generations to to evaluate and become a part of the culture, you know, because when you look at the generational dynamic of house music, you're talking about baby boomers, Gen X, and maybe some Gen Y, right? But you
Right.
know, some events that I've been at, you see a few millennials, some of the older, you know, that millennial group, they're a little older,
Right.
and so that group is becoming a little more stratified now. Um, but in order to sustain the culture and think about its viability over time, we got to get younger people, you know, younger artists even.
Yeah.
My nephew, who, you know, who's big in R&B and he sings R&B, he's actually recently just, you know, played around with a few house tunes that sound really good, and he's got a couple of labels interested in his house music, or at least that those tracks that he did. So you know, we need some of the younger artists out there, and younger up and coming artists to experiment with it and see it as a viable, you know, artistic presentation, you
Right.
know, in which that's something that I really take value in when I listen to other house, and I appreciate other house music artists. I appreciate their art.
Right. Right.
Because it's art. It's it's everything that, you know, you would consider R&B or jazz, or because the expression itself takes on an emotional expression and a connection and a reflection of something that is that the you know they say art depicts life. It's a reflection of something that's real in life or real about life, and that's the beauty in the expression of this art form, right?
Right.
Is that you can do that, and you can also dance to it, you know.
Right. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. This thing, I thought I had this thing shut off. I did have it shut off. Okay, let me shut it off. 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 Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Yeah. So now, you're familiar with other styles of music. What else do you sing? You sing. I know you sing obviously house, but I saw something that I saw somewhere that you were looking to do some more R&B, and just you listen to other styles of music on a regular, or just let's have a little conversation about that. Which are
yeah. So interestingly enough, I've got a lot of house releases out this year, but I haven't actually been recording a lot of house this year. I've been recording a lot of R&B soul, neo soul, some hip hop R&B, some jazz, and I've even toyed around with some, you know, I wouldn't, let's just call it more like Caribbean soul. I wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's reggae. I wouldn't necessarily say calypso or anything like that, but it has those vibrations, right? And so yeah, I've been working with a few producers on some of these different genres, and we've got some packages at a few labels, and there's some interest in some of that as well. So yeah, like I said, I grew up, you know, Dan, listening to all this music. I even self-released a kind of a contemporary gospel album called Conversations We Need a Word about 12 years ago. It was just something that I wasn't even intending to release it or do anything with it, but a producer heard it and was like, "Man, this is really good. What do you just can't let this sit?" Because I just wanted to present it my work as a writer, because you know, I'm a writer first. or at least that's what I thought and felt at that time. He was like, "No, man, you should. This has a really good contemporary sound." And so I dabble in a few genres. I'll be doing some work even in the jazz genre in the summer. So yeah. But house, I'm gonna continue to do my thing with house, man.
Now, is there anybody that you would like to sing with that you haven't? You ever think about doing and now? Well, hey, we saw that back in the '80s where, listen, Natalie Cole sang with her dad, and her dad was long gone on to glory. Is there anybody you would like to do something with, sing with?
Oh man, yes, most definitely. First of all, I'll say big, much love to Tracy Hamlin.
Sure.
I did a few songs with her. Incredible artist, and man, we did some work there. But yeah. So I'll start with a few male artists.
Okay.
So Richard Burton, right here out of Baltimore.
Okay.
Man, we've been talking back and forth, sending messages. We got to make something happen, man. I definitely love that brother, his energy, his voice, just his artistry, and I think if we did something together, man, it would come off like ain't no stopping us now. I'm telling you, man. Just his voice, his delivery, the richness of his voice, man, and then I think we would do well together. So Richard Burton, Aaron K. Gray. I would love to work with Aaron K. Gray.
Really? I'm gonna let him know tonight.
Oh man, I think just the kind of soulful gospel presentation. I think we can both connect on that, and with his range and his delivery, I think our textures in our voices and our approaches would be complementary. So I'm starting with the male artists, right? Morris Reevy. I don't know if you know Morris Reevy, African, Afro, but he does a lot of different styles. But I'd love to work with Morris Reevy, and man, there are a lot of male vocalists out there, man. But those are just a few that I can name. But man, there are several out there that I'd love to work with. I know we got a limited time here. Female vocalists. I'm actually, and this is someone I wanted to work with, Miss Fly.
Sure.
Yeah. Out of Canada, UK. We actually, we actually connected on something that we'll be working on. Man, someone that I've always, just because I just love her vibe, Crystal Waters.
Sure.
Oh man, she's just so creative, and I just love her energy and her vibe. Man, I can Tasha LaRae. Man, I can name, just in terms of just female vocalists, and even someone who may not be as big and well noted as let's someone like Dawn. Man, I'm losing.
Tallman.
Dawn Tallman, yeah.
Okay.
Love her voice, man. Would love to work with Tom. But Crystal Lavelle,
Yeah,
I love her voice, man.
Okay.
She may not, be as big as some of those other artists, but there's a richness, there's a purity, and we've talked about. I actually wrote something, and we talked about making it happen. We just haven't been able to make it happen yet. And my apologies, Crystal, but we're gonna make that song happen. And then I've got something that I'm working. We actually did a remake of If This World Were Mine. So
I can hear it.
Pam Underhill Thompson and I.
Okay.
So
Uh-huh.
y'all, man, man, oh man. Pam killed it. I mean,
Yeah.
you would have, phew, oh my God, she killed it.
Oh my goodness. What?
My God. So yeah, that I wanted to work with her. We made that happen, and that's something that's coming out later this year.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's just a few, man. I mean, I listen to a lot of artists, man, and I really appreciate a lot of the art. I try to support and chart and share and buy. Um, but yeah, those are just some that I want to work with. There are many though.
Okay.
Many of them.
Now, how about this? How about places you performed? Is there any place that you've performed and or that you want to go back and perform again? What's
Yeah. So of course I've performed here locally. I've had invitations to perform um, uh, 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 back home and back to the birthplace, New York, Brooklyn. Um, um, I I had a death in my family last year, which I had to cancel that performance. So, but I'd love to get to get back to Brooklyn and do this performance on Coney Island with DJ Nubian.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Um, and then I've been in some discussions to do performances in the UK. I would love to get out to South Africa. I've worked with a couple of producers in Brazil, so I'd love to get to South America. I've worked with a producer out of Mexico, so I'd love to get to Mexico. Yeah. So I've worked with producers from all over the world, and so I'd like to get to some of those places, man. Like France, Italy, Germany, Tom Leland, and Loyal House Records. I've released a few tracks on there, and want to get out there, man. So yeah, those are places I definitely want to get out to, and I've got some opportunities this year and next year.
Now, you write, sing, and perform. Do you have a first love with this, a preference?
For me, writing and that whole process of creating, I posted something recently by an artist, CeeLo Green, and at its essence, it was talking about the ability to create something from nothing and bring it to fruition. And the whole idea is that that process, in his words, and I agree, it's spiritual. So that whole writing and that whole creation process, to me, I think that was like my first love. And I think I love that part. I love performing. I love the singing part. But there's something about the creating process, because when you're performing it, it's done.
Okay, got you.
But that creative process, I think about painters and sculptors and the trial and error and the inner vision that exudes the outer expression. That whole, I see it as a cycle, something on the inside happening that comes out of you, right? Right. And sometimes that the influence for that can be internal or external, right? So my inspiration comes from a lot of different places. So that whole process, to me, Dan, it's there's something mysterious something magical. Um, it's not always methodical.
Right.
Because sometimes I don't even write, physically write. Sometimes I'll have this mic, I'll have some music, I'll have my equipment, and I'll let the music play, and then it'll just come out. And then I'll massage it a bit later. So yeah, it's something about that process to me that I feel like that was my first love. But performance and the ability to connect with people and deliver it, I think is just as magical and beautiful, and that's something that I'm actually working on even more and working to get better at. So
Okay. So for me, my first love is DJing. But let me just go back to something you said about starting from scratch, wherever it comes from, whether it's internal, external. So doing this show, Soulful House Nation, August will be 7 years, the start of my 7th year.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. I've done, with your interview, this is my 246th full-blown interview. But let me share something with you. When you get that idea, no matter where it comes from, you really don't know if it's going to work until you put it out there. And when you put it out there and you see it go from, hey, this is what I was thinking, and maybe you carry the thought around with you a while, because I carried the thought around with me for a while. After I fell in love with house music. And there's nothing like you thinking of something, it comes to however it comes to you, God-given, however you want to say it. You put it out there and it's received with love.
Right.
So when you make that track, I'm sure you write that thing, you're sitting here at this thing. Now, see, I don't have the gift of musicianship. That didn't, Lord left me, he just left me out in the cold on that one. He left me out on the vocals. He left me out on that one. But he did give me the ability to stand in music with the DJing and now with the interviews. Right. So I'm just saying, all I can say is I'm totally relating to you taking that idea, wherever it comes from, and being able to put it out there and see it come to fruition. And I just totally agree with you. I just needed to say that. Anyway.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. That's an accomplishment. So when I talk to other artists and we kind of share ideas, but also our thoughts and feelings about the process, that's an accomplishment in and of itself. Now whether people receive it or not, how it's marketed, how it's presented to the world, that's a whole nother topic. But there's a sense of accomplishment when you complete that work of art, and the one who appraises it first is the creator.
Right.
I think all my songs are great. They're like babies. I don't, they're like children. I don't think one is better than the other, or I think all my songs are great. How they're received, how they're presented, all that, that's another discussion. But as an artist, everything I do is an extension of a passion and a love and a desire to share that, that joy, that love, that passion with the world. So yeah, Dan.
Well, listen, speaking of babies, like you did, like Smile and many, many other tracks. And do you have any, like, this, your mommy's favorite, your daddy's favorite. Do you have anything, or do you make something that was made out of all these different tracks? I mean, I could just go on and on about your music. Do you have anything that really, like, resonates at the highest level for you, or any particular song that just really captured the essence, as far as you're concerned, of Ed Ramsey?
You know, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. You know, on some level, I can listen to each song and feel a certain energy from that song, because those songs represent a moment in time, and those moments in time all equate to this person that I am today, right? And so I don't know if there's a particular song that I connect to that raises that frequency when I listen to it, right? They all kind of, when I listen to them, they all kind of hit me in a different way that's special, you know? And what's funny is, of all the songs that I've released, there are probably a multiple of maybe 3 or 5 that you've never heard.
Okay.
You know, there's probably 5 times that many that you've never heard. For one reason or another. Maybe I didn't think it was ready, you know. But yeah. To answer your question specifically, no, there's not one song that I can just say, that's the one, you know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if, I don't think there's one yet, you know.
Okay.
Like I said, they're all special in one way or another, but I don't know if there's one yet that I can say that one describes me. That one is characteristic of all of me and who I am. Yeah. Right now, I think they're all that combination, that, you know, that kaleidoscope of, you know, of the person that has been, that is, and that will be, you know. So
now, producers, name some producers you've worked with, anybody you would like to work with, or
oh wow.
Okay.
Wow, that list of who I've worked with. So let me start. Like I said, I started out with DJ Pope and DJ OG back in the 90s. I took a break, a really long break, from doing house music, from doing any music for that matter, because of family and work, and, you know, I was in ministry as well. So I really didn't get back into house music specifically until 2019. So DJ Tony Soul, who's out of New Orleans, he's in Houston now. Somebody that I've worked with, DJ Randall Smooth. He introduced me to DJ Randall Smooth out of New Orleans. So I've worked with him. So I'm going to go down the road. DJ Randall Smooth actually released the project, but then he did some remixes, which brought Teo Wink. Right, Teo. And Teo and I we got an album sitting in the pocket that ain't even released yet. So I'll tell you about that another time. So Teo Wink. Who else came out of that? Rick Lenore. Yeah, out of Chicago. Legendary Rick. My brother Sean Ali and Monk Julius. Brothers out of Chicago. And Leandro P out of Brazil. Did some work with him. Did some work with man, I don't want to miss anybody. I want to make sure they get their props here. Did some work with Damon Ramsey out of Baltimore. Of course, DJ Spen and Tommy Davis, because I've done some work on Quantize. Um, who else here? I did some work with um, Tom Leland out of Germany, Arnaud D, Soulface, who's out of France. I did some work with some producers out of South Africa. Man, I don't want to mess up their names. And there are a few of them. So yeah, Dan, it covers the spectrum. Out of the UK, I work with CKP and Carl H.
Okay.
Music and Me, DJ Timbaland. I've worked with Lee Gomez, Wipe the Needle. Worked with my brother Dave Anthony out of the UK. Woo! I know I'm going down the list, right?
Okay, that's all good.
Yeah, so and there are a few more, but those, yeah. So those are many of the producers. So who I'd love to work with? Oh man, you name it, man. I mean, just think about it. I'd love to work with. I'd love to work with Doug Gomez.
Yes,
he does some great work.
Yes.
You know, I'd love to do some work with Doug Gomez. I'd love to work with Jeffrey C, who's out of this area. Jeffrey C is amazing, right?
I gotta just excitement for just 1 minute. Okay, so Jeffrey C is such a good guy. So listen to this. This is real quick. I gotta share this with you. So I'm interviewing Jeffrey C, and I was telling him every time I hear his music, it's like the energy is crazy.
Oh yeah, because Jeffrey C, his energy, he's mad.
And I say to him, we're having a conversation. I says, it's like an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And so the conversation go, okay, well, let's do a track called Adrenaline Rush. So many times I've had people say they will do stuff, but Jeffrey actually followed through. And we made this track. I should say, he made the track. And I said a couple words on it. And Tommy Davis said, Dan, next time you do a track, you got to say more than 2 words. And the name of the track is called Adrenaline Rush. And that was Jeffrey C. And I got to tell you, the energy on it's crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry. I had to just give
Jeffrey C.
I love incredible Jeffrey guy. Sorry.
I mean, I'd love to work with Louis Vega. I'd love to work with Black Coffee. Love his music. Love his work. Terry Hunter. Man, I'd love to work with any of those cats. You know, Koflo. Because you're just starting to hear some of it, but I've actually got a lot of Afro house that's coming out. One of the more recent releases that I have on the Groove Bomb label is with the producers Muzongo. It's a song called "Time Marches On." That actually is available for pre-order right now. But it's an Afro house song. But I've got several other Afro house songs that are coming out. So you're going to hear a lot more of my work on the Afro side here this year. Wow. I've worked. Who else, man? Those are just a few. I mean,
right.
Great producers out there that even in the Jersey area, DJ Beloved and Mark Francis, and they're DJs, but they're great producers as well. So yeah.
Well, just so you know, it's inevitable that when you get off the Zoom. We only have a couple more minutes left.
Yeah.
You're gonna think about somebody and say, "Oh man, why didn't I think?" What?
Well, I was
It's
thinking
inevitable.
right while we were talking. I can't forget my man C-Dot, Charles Dawkins. We one of the most, at least in my short history, iconic songs. You know, "Smile I Can't Get Enough."
Mm-hmm.
He produced that. He produced the whole package.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't forget my man. We actually went when I told you I moved here and went to high school. We went to high school together, me and C-Doc. So
okay.
So we go way back. But yeah, I can't forget Charles Dawkins, man, who's a writer and a musician himself. You know, he DJs as well, but he's an amazing writer, amazing musician, and he's a teacher. You can learn a lot, you know, being in the company of Charles Dawkins. So I don't want to forget him, man. Don't want to forget C-Dot.
And you know, I heard somebody say this, and I got to refer. Hey, if I didn't mention name, charge it to my head, not to my heart.
Yeah.
Well, we're down to the wire here. Hey, what's on the horizon for you, and do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share? And after that, let's get us some contact information. People want to follow you, keep up with you, support you. How do they do it? So,
yeah,
what's on the horizon? Any final thoughts, and how do we support you?
Yeah, so what's on the horizon? Got some new releases that's out. So check me out on TrackSource. Check me out on all the different music platforms, whether it be Amazon, Apple, Spotify, whatever. Yeah, I've got several releases out, and of course TrackSource. I got a couple of performances coming up. So in June, right here in Baltimore at the Baltimore Soundstage, at the Bezesaka anniversary production. I'll be there. I believe it's June the 11th, but I'll be posting about that. So if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me on Facebook. Either, you know, I got a music page out there under my name, and it's called Deep in My Soul by Ed Ramsey. So that's my music page. You can catch me on IG, Ramsey is Music. I'm also on, I just, maybe about a month ago, just got on TikTok.
Okay.
I'm there. I'm on SoundCloud. As I mentioned before, I'm on Spotify. Create some, you know, beautiful playlists for some of the music that I have out there. Where else? That's pretty much, if you want to connect with me on, you know, in terms of my socials, and then, you know, my TrackSource page that has all my releases, you know, on my TrackSource page, which is my name, Ed Ramsey. So if you just go to TrackSource and put my name in, you'll get my page. I'm also on YouTube. Got some video content out there. So yeah. And you know, final thought here, you know, for me is just, man, just follow your dreams, you know, no matter how young or how old you are. You know, what inspired me, I believe it was at the Latin Grammys. Lady, I believe she was in her 70s. I forget. She was much further down the road, 70s.
Okay.
Won a Latin Grammy Award for one of a recent release. You know, so I was like, hey man, follow your dreams, no matter, you know, don't let age or anything else be an impediment. Follow your dreams, because people will, you know, they'll feel your passion. They'll accept you when you're real and when you're genuine, you know. And so follow your dreams. Don't you may get 1,000 no's, you know. Sylvester Stallone in his Rocky script, everybody knows that story, you know. You'll get 1,000 no's, but that one yes could be the yes that propels you so much further than you've ever imagined. So follow your dreams, believe in yourself, believe in your vision. And remember, you know, when God called you to do something, he didn't need a committee. He spoke to you. So,
right. Hey, that's so powerful. Hey, Ed, thank you so much for spending time.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it, man. This was awesome, man. When you asked me to do this, I said, hey, I got to definitely do this, man. And I appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Well, listen, I just totally appreciate you sharing. I'm listening to your music. I'm checking for you. And I say to myself, like, okay, so this is real quick. In this business of music and this business of interviews, it's a business of 1,000 no's. And when you because
Yeah.
because to let's say on the way, I've been pretty blessed because most people have said yes.
Mhm.
But again, going back to the 1,000 no's, there have been a lot of no's. There have been a lot of, oh, yes, yes. Then I can't reach them by land, sea, or air. And then, and I'm not saying it's that they,
Ghosting.
huh?
Ghosting you, huh?
Yeah, yes. And then sometimes it's just taking a while, and I'm always gracious. I'm never upset with them because, hey, they have other things going on in their lives, and
Right.
you always have to respect that. But I just want to tell you, Ed, I've been checking for you for a while, and I reached out to you. You were very gracious, and I just want to
Thank
say
you, man.
thanks a lot for coming on the show.
No,
And
God
I
bless you,
know
man.
people are gonna love this.
I hope so, man. I did a little live video today on Facebook. I told them about the show and that to be published on the 15th, the interview and everything. So look out for it. But no, I appreciate it really from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it, and hopefully, I sent you some music, so check it out.
Okay,
Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think.
Okay, listen, I know I'm gonna love everything you put out. I'm loving. And then on Monday after the show, we do this thing called the Shazam Free Zone. And in the Shazam Free Zone, I play only brand new music. So, I've been in the game for a while. I know all the hits,
Yeah.
but that's not where I play the hits. This is where I like to say in the Shazam Free Zone, we not only play it, but we say it. So you don't have to look it up. I'm gonna tell you what it is. So
Right.
Monday, I'm gonna put you on blast.
Yeah. All
Thank you
right,
so much.
man.
All right. Hey, listen, take care and God bless. Thank you so much.
Hey, have a blessed evening. Thank you
All
so
right,
much. And
ladies and
blessings to
gentlemen,
yeah.
DJ Dan, Sober House Nation coming to you live from the 8th floor. I am here with Ed Ramsey. Ed Ramsey, thank you so much. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.